Making it as an opera singer is tough enough as it is, but try making it as an opera singer who also happens to be transgender. Elliot Franks, Lucia, and Breanna Sinclairé are classical vocalists blazing new trails in the world of opera. A new KQED radio documentary reveals their courageous quest to find a voice and acceptance in an industry that's been described as gendered and rigid. Joining me now is the producer of the documentary, KQED Arts and Culture reporter Chloe Veltman, and transgender opera singer Breanna Sinclairé. Welcome to you both.
Thanks for having us.
Breanna, in 2015, you became the first transgender vocalist to sing the national anthem at an Oakland A's game. Let's hear a little bit of that first.
Breanna is in her early 30s and starting to hit her stride as a singer. In 2015, she became the first trans vocalist to sing the national anthem at a professional sports event.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light?
Breanna, what was that experience like, knowing you were making history?
It was exciting. It was very powerful. I had my family there, my adopted family from San Francisco, and a lot of my trans and gender non-conforming friends in the audience. There was a lot of feelings going on, anxiety and excitement, and just, I knew at that moment that it was a special moment, and I'm just very grateful that they asked me to perform the national anthem.
And now you're blazing trails in opera, which is hard enough, Chloe, to break into as it is. Give us a sense of what you learned about what it takes to make it in the opera.
Well, as you said, Nina, it's an extremely high-bound industry in a lot of ways, and it's not a diverse profession at all, actually. It's not just about a lack of diversity when it comes to gender. There's a lack of diversity when it comes to race and other things like that. So it's very, very hard for anyone to break in. There are now a couple of singers who are really starting to make it to the upper echelons. People like Lucia Lucas. She is a baritone, and she's making her debut with the English National Opera in October.
So she is a baritone, so she maintained her baritone sound when she made the transition.
She did.
Breanna, I want to get into your personal story a little bit more, because even before you tried to break into opera, you had a life that was full of challenges. Talk to us a little bit about what it was like for you, even very early on, when your father didn't accept your sexuality.
So it was very difficult. My youth was very difficult, and my father just did not agree with me associating myself with the arts, and he thought that me being an artist was a result of being gay, and it was very hard, and he abused me plenty of times because he felt as if me being an artist was it was just totally out of line with his beliefs as a pastor. So
what's incredible is there was a part of you, though, that still knew deep inside that you had a voice that needed to be heard, that moved people.
Yeah, and Janet Mock, she's a trans activist and journalist, and she said something very poignant, and she said that when she discovered who she was very young, it was her first conviction. And at the age of 5, that was my very first conviction. It sounds cliche, but at the age of 5, my mind and my body did not fit. And so I had to deal with that mental and emotional struggle that even my family didn't understand and my father didn't understand. And so I think when I tried to express myself, my father kind of pushed me back, and, he would, beat me a lot, because he felt as if beating the gay away was the way, but it wasn't a gay issue, it was more of a gender issue. And I think the world has to understand the difference between sexuality and gender, and I was dealing with the gender issue.
When did you decide to begin your physical transition?
I decided at 19, and it was a very monumental moment because actually I met a trans male at my college at the California Institute of the Arts, and his name is Keen, and I didn't know that he was trans until we had a conversation at a party, at a college party. And so he introduced me to his doctor in Van Nuys, California, and then I just started my transition from there. And it was a very intense process, lots of therapy. Gratefully, I went to a school that therapists and teachers supported me. But the voice department had an issue with that at CalArts. And I remember when I decided that I wanted to sing soprano, my teacher said, no, you can't do that at the end of your final year at CalArts. You cannot do that. I said, no, I will do that, because I do not fit this whole tenor persona or visual that they want me to be. And so that was something that I had to fight with. And I had so many close friends at CalArts that kind of pushed me and actually pushed the teachers to allow me to be who I am. So I'm very thankful for the support.
And now, Chloe, going through a physical transition, there's also hormones associated with that. Estrogen doesn't change the voice. So Breanna's ability to hit those high notes is a result of her hard work. But you met somebody who did take testosterone knowing that it would lower their voice, right?
That's right, Nina. One of the 3 subjects in my documentary is Elliot Franks, who was one of the Bay Area's go-to sopranos. Glorious soprano voice, singing all over the place with some of the really best-known companies here. And at the age of 50, Elliot made the difficult decision to begin taking testosterone, knowing that it could really interfere with his career. It was a huge risk. But he did it because he needed to for himself. And he also very courageously documented his process, or allowed his process to be documented. So you can actually hear his voice changing in my documentary. But as a result of going through this process, he did lose his career as a professional opera singer.
You mentioned early on that diversity is an issue in opera. Do you see that changing, whether it be more transgender singers or even more African-American, Latino, or Asian women in lead roles?
Well, it's starting to happen a little bit more. In San Francisco, for example, we recently had Janae Bridges playing the role of Carmen. And the San Francisco Opera has started a department of diversity and inclusivity, though that effort is more geared towards broadening audiences than it is at the moment towards broadening the production team and talent on stage.
Well, Breanna Sinclairé, tell us where we can see and hear you next.
Yes, so I am singing for the Equality California Palm Spring Awards, October 20th. And also I make my opera debut in Toronto, Canada, April 17th through the 25th. And the opera's called Bound by Kevin Lau, and he's a composer. And it's, about, the dehumanization of folks in a corrupt government. So I'm very excited to play Kelly Davidson in the opera. So,
well, congratulations to you. And thank you for sharing your story. And Chloe, thank you for sharing these stories. It was so great to have you here.
Thanks so much, Mia.
Yes, thank you, Nina.
That'll do it for us. You can hear Chloe's KQED radio documentary on transgender opera singers at californiareport.org. As always, you can find more of our coverage at kqed.org/newsroom. I'm Nina Kuhn. Thanks for joining us.